at UCLA. It was like just a double science course, like a math course during the summer. And I was walking with my friend from the dorms and I was like, did they have a football team here? And then the football team came running by and I was like, oh, I didn't know. I really came just for the science.
I love it.
You don't
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
What's your name?
Hi, I'm Krystle. What's your name?
I'm Noah. This is Isa. And this is Ninang Ardith.
I'm their Auntie Ardith. Hello.
And you don't
Hi.
know at all. Hello.
Oh,
That's my
hello.
Aunt Adam.
Hey.
Hi, Adam.
And we're triplets. No, we're not. You look like Ninang Ardith. We all say.
Please.
I love it. What are we making today?
Polvoron. What? No, wait.
You guys, we're making polvoron, and
We're making polvoron.
is a Filipino. This is my sister Angeline.
Hi, Ate.
This is my new friend Krystle, and we're going to make polvoron together.
And you never met her before.
Adam,
Welcome to the family.
Thank you. I feel like this is very much like when I used to bake with my little nieces and nephews also, because they're always like, what are we doing? What's happening? Can I show you my toy? Can we talk about this cartoon? And now they're all grown up, so it's nice to see younger kids.
No, you're saying us.
Okay.
Okay, so what's step one? I have my pan heating.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn on my pan too. So basically, we want to toast the flour.
Okay.
Can I do it?
No, I'm going to do it. Please sit down. We're going to toast the flour. Noah put sugar all over this. So, and that takes a lot of watching because you have to make sure. I got a light colored pan too, so I can tell the difference when the when it starts heating up.
Toasting.
So what do I do?
Nothing, you know. I'm toasting it.
Okay.
So basically, we're getting it. So we're cooking the flour, and we want it to get like nutty and brown, so that to eat it. If you ate a flour when it was raw, it would taste really weird.
Yeah. Really?
What do you think it'll taste like?
Yeah. Flour? I forgot what it tastes like, but I said flour.
Oh, flour. Yeah,
I need to tell you something.
What, Noah?
I tried flour before.
Just straight flour?
Yes.
Noah, please. I don't want to hear that.
It's gross.
It's like
It tastes like what?
it tastes like nothing though.
It tastes like nothing.
A salty
feels
flavor.
Tastes like nothing. Okay.
Yeah, and it tastes gross.
It doesn't taste right because it's not cooked. You taste it.
Do I taste it now?
No, we're not tasting it.
I think I accidentally swallowed some.
You didn't swallow any.
Look, it's fire.
So I know, bud. So once it gets toasted, it's actually a pretty simple recipe because you just start mixing things together. You have your melted butter ready, and then it's like
I'm gonna melt my butter on the stove while we're talking so that
that.
it'll be ready to go.
And then
Oh, I'm making tofu.
we're not making totoro.
Not tofu. It sounds like toto.
Artists, do you know where polvoron comes from?
So
Like, is it native or is it like Spanish?
I feel like it's you know, I'm not really sure if it's native or Spanish. No, I'm talking to you. Okay. But it is something really traditional. We've always had it around Christmas time. Careful, Adam. What I usually or whenever someone comes back from the Philippines, they'll buy it. And I think like there are. You want to mix it a little? Yeah. Careful. You just want to keep moving it. Sure. You don't have to, okay. And it's different regions may add different stuff to it. I like my favorite thing to add is the pinipig, the roasted young rice, and it's like roasted and pounded, and then you put it in. It adds like crunchy stuff, like kind of like Rice Krispies.
Yeah, like a puffed rice.
Yeah,
I
puffed
love
rice.
Right.
You love Rice Krispies?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite ones too. But did you grow up making this as a kid?
No, I had an aunt, or it was like one of my aunt's really good friends. They stayed with us when we were little, and she actually made it for us. And it was the first time I had it. I remember having it, and she was such a really nice lady. She sadly passed away a couple years ago,
Sadly.
but sadly. But I totally remember her making it, and how yummy it was. And it's basically Noah. Since it's basically like a shortbread. It has it's like it crumbles, but it also is like very satisfying because of the milk and just like the toasty flavor that you have with it. And also, like, if you eat it too fast, you might choke. So don't eat it too fast.
Yeah, there's always like the cautionary tale of like, if you got it in your mouth, it's just like so crumbly and dry, but it's so delicious that you can't help yourself and you eat it too fast. I also grew up eating polvoron at Christmas. And I don't know if anybody would like make it in the family, because I do remember like the rainbow colored cellophane papers that it comes in, and I have a feeling that my family was definitely the kind of family that was just like, we just bought it, it's fine. But
I was definitely like telling my mom about some of the desserts I like to make for the holidays, and she's like, you can just buy it.
That's what my mom says too, like, not just buy it, it's no big deal. But this is exciting for me because I've never made polvoron. And I think I was telling you an email or like when we were texting before, my family is like brand loyal, like many Filipino families, right? And we are a very big Goldilocks fam.
Yes.
Which is like the biggest name in Filipino sweets, right? And I always like getting like the ube ones, or they make like a cookies and cream one, which is like, but why? But it's delicious.
It's like the combination of American sensibilities. Like, yeah, cookies and cream is the bomb. Let's put it in there.
Yeah, exactly. So I like those. There's like the kasoy or cashew flavor.
Yes.
That's pretty tasty. So I definitely love polvoron, and I'm very excited to be making it with you all.
I think it's like oddly simple to make, and then the part that does take a longer time is when you start mixing, when you start like trying to mold it and put it in the fridge. You have to take in like another it'll take like a half hour to kind of like set up before you start wrapping. And that's like something we don't have to do. Like, I'll just give it to people. I'm like, listen, I made it for you.
Yeah. I was like, I could wrap it, right? But maybe I'll just like freeze them and then put them in like little bags, and then that way, if I'm giving them away, they'll just be in their own cute little bag. Okay, here's a controversial, maybe not controversial, I don't know. When you eat polvoron, do you eat it at room temp?
Yes.
Or do you eat it? You do.
Yeah. Do you do it differently?
I eat it cold.
Oh.
Like out of the freezer, because the milk powder is almost like creamy, right? And then it has like this ice creamy quality to it.
I should try that.
I love it frozen. And it stays together longer, I think.
Yeah.
In your mouth when it's cold.
That's the cautionary tale about polvoron is when it crumbles apart, and maybe you took a drink or you breathed in too fast, and it is a danger.
Okay, I'm going to show you my flour because I'm starting to really smell it, and I see some of it is getting darker. Can you? Oh, that's really bright. Can you see that? Can you tell if it's? Yeah. Hold on, I have to switch my gas because it ran out. But if it, I can't really see if it's darker, how dark it is against there. It looks like a more golden. Here, let me. Sorry. Okay. yeah, I'm gonna keep it off the heat for a little bit and just kind of like move it around some. It's already starting to look more toasty, I think.
Yeah. I have this little gas grill that we usually use for Korean barbecue. And I was just like, oh,
I'm glad you're using yours. I'm using an electric one, and it's very hard to gauge like the temp, I think, because it's like, oh, I really want to, I want to make sure I don't burn something, but also I need it hot enough.
Yes.
So it's like, it's always really hard.
Hi, Krystle.
Hello. So do you like Polvoron, Noah and Isa? Do you like Polvoron?
I've tried it before.
You have.
You've never tried it? Are you sure?
We have like a whole box. And I'm like, this one,
I don't remember.
Yeah. My husband says the same thing. He's very much like, I don't know if I've ever had that. And I'm like, no, you definitely have, because I keep like boxes of it in the freezer when I get it. So I don't have, withdrawal from Filipino candies and cookies.
Yeah. I honestly think it's you get so many sweets when people come back from the Philippines or go to like a Filipino store and bring back some goodies that it's like you may get mixed up with all.
For sure.
Did I get like a good puto? Did I like?
Yeah.
What exactly did I get?
Is this what we're making?
That is, well, I won't be able to make that design, but that is like.
I won't be able to.
It's very hot, Noah. Hey, Noah. It's very hot.
Let me try.
Are you using the traditional molds, or are you using just like?
I have traditional molds. Actually, I have two types. I have the oval and the circle.
Okay.
So I got them from the store. I've used them before. I would say they always feel dangerous to use because I feel like the corners are not smoothed out. Just like,
yeah. I feel like that's common with like I grew up having the molds but never making them, and I don't know what happened to them at my mom's house. Maybe they're there, maybe they're not, because Filipino moms just hold on to stuff. But I'm using cookie cutters today because I don't have my own molds.
Yeah, and they're like,
where do you throw those?
I don't think you need them. You just have to pack them down. It's taking forever. Thank you.
Why is it so young?
Because you have to cook the flour, and you don't want to burn it. I feel like I'm almost burning it. Isa, can you start?
I thought that too, and I turned mine down. I think mine's like the right colors, like very toasty brown color, like almost almost like peanuts, maybe. Like,
yeah.
It smells like it's burning,
color.
and I see some brown parts.
Thanks.
Stop it! You're burning it.
Thanks for the commentary, you guys.
You don't put it down.
I did turn it down. Oh no,
Okay.
guys. You guys are distracting me.
We're too bad.
I think it's perfect. Because, if you can't cook with your nieces and nephews, what are you going to do, right?
What am I going to do?
I'm not a nephew. I'm not.
So, Ardith, you moved from where to San Diego?
So I lived in Torrance in LA, and basically I was working there. During the pandemic, though, it thinks Isa, hold on. Am I talking?
No.
Okay. So I was working in LA during the pandemic, but because it was all remote, I decided to come down in San Diego. And I've been here for how long? Like a year now?
2 months or what?
Like a year.
Oh, not a year, half a year.
A year, like a long time. I've been here for over a year now.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, and
That's great.
I was living alone in LA. My best friend lives across the street, but because the pandemic was like you can't really go out or be with people.
Yeah.
And she works in in the hospital, so it was like we can't really see each other. And
Right.
my family's down here, so I decided to be like, okay, well, if it might be just I will be a little less stir crazy if I come down there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, my parents live maybe 2.5, 3 miles from us.
Yeah.
And like in the beginning, I would see like my mom every so often, but then it started to be like extra hairy, so I just wouldn't see her.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, this is so sad. I miss seeing you. But we still talk pretty frequently, several times a day sometimes. Because, you know,
I
we're
think
used to hanging out every weekend.
yeah, that's the thing. It's the pandemic really changed so much. Like I miss the connection. I'm really like a very introverted person. I mean, I'm fine with people. It's very takes a lot of energy for me.
Sure. I feel the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do love seeing my friends when, you know, when my energy level allows. But
yeah.
But you know, I think just being let's turn this off.
Let's turn it off. It's all right.
We did it, everybody. I did it. I did not burn it. It's amazing.
It smells like burning popcorn.
I think that's what it's supposed to smell like, right? A little bit like toasty popcorn. I think that's a really good description. Yeah.
Okay.
Too bad.
So
I'm just gonna move my burner out of the shot so that I don't.
Can you give me
I can see.
holders, please, babe?
Pot holders? What are pot holders?
The little holders for the pot. Yes, mittens for the pot. Come on.
Yeah, pot mittens. Good job.
Pot mittens. Yeah, and I think it was a good move for me to move down here for the time being. I'm closer with my family. Yes, please. And I'm able to help out, but also you know, I made the decision that I'd rather be down here than up in LA. And that was something like I would never have like landed at if you know the pandemic didn't happen. I'd be like, okay, I'm just like up here working. I'll do this and that. Did you find another one?
No.
Okay. Thanks. Okay.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm gonna transfer this into.
Finally. Smoky
Okay, let me
mommy.
beep beep beep.
Went to the Korean spa.
Okay. Tell me, do you guys have a favorite Filipino food that you like to eat or treat?
I don't know what's Filipino. Isa, you okay? I breathed in the gas. It stinks.
What's your favorite? Did you answer Krystle's question?
No, not yet. We don't really know what Filipino is.
Filipino
we
food
just
is?
eat food. Yeah.
So their favorite
food.
Filipino, Noah's favorite food is machado.
I don't like
Machado, okay.
Machado
It's the red
is
meat.
the red meat.
Okay.
Oh, Isa, I need to help you breathe.
I like sinigang, right?
So I'm putting in the sugar and then I'm gonna put in the milk powder.
Breathe, Isa, breathe.
Okay.
You stop.
Yeah, you can mix.
Sinigang is actually my favorite Filipino food too.
I love sinigang. It's so delicious.
Yes.
Do you like yours extra sour or do you like yours just a little sour?
What do you
Just
think?
a little.
Just a little. Okay. I like mine extra sour.
Likes it really, really sour.
Yeah, that's how I like it.
Oh,
Yeah.
girl.
Double packed.
No, sort of.
Super sour.
No.
So that like when you eat it, your eyes like kind of squint a little and your mouth puckers and you're like, it's so good.
It's like it's really that taste, and then you mix it with like the pates, the fish sauce. It's so
We're making. Could I say something?
well, let me finish. It's really the taste of my childhood, and I'm glad that I'm here get to taste it, you know, growing up.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
comments? Any other comments, Miss?
Nope. Hey, no. Those are- Okay, so now I've mixed together the rest of the stuff, and the last
Okay.
part is the butter.
The butter, right? Okay, so I'm just mixing together all my dry, and it's okay that it's still warm, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're not worried about that.
No, what I was like actually thinking about the first time I made this by myself. I actually was like burning my hands a little trying to mold it because it's hot. So we can let it cool down a bit. So don't burn your hands.
Okay.
Yeah, I have it.
I'm trying to.
Very warm.
You know,
I'm trying to like stir it about a bit just so that it has like a little bit of cooling.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm gonna make a ube style, so I'm gonna add a little ube extract to my butter before I add it to my flour.
That's a great idea.
Are you almost done? You know it?
No.
Yes, smoke
They said the smoke alarm's gonna turn on. It's not. Here, I'm gonna turn on the fan on the side, baby.
I can see the smoke already over there.
Turn on the whole house fan.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think when my grandparents came to the Philippines, from the Philippines here in the 70s, and we grew up eating a lot of Filipino food, and my grandmother mostly spoke Tagalog. So and there were like all the parents were working, right? There's like
right.
And all the kids were just hanging out at my grandma's house, like up to 27 kids were at my grandma's house.
Oh wow, that's so awesome.
Yeah, so there was a lot of children. It was like a kid gang.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this.
Yes, no.
I do not eat snoop on at all.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's nice.
That smells really bad.
Well, don't yuck my yum, huh?
No, I need flour. It's burning.
So I'm gonna add in the
Are
butter.
you yucking yum?
Yeah.
I added my butter.
My yum.
May still. I supposed to make.
Oh, don't yuck the yum.
Yeah, he doesn't like the smell of the
Toasted flour.
The flour. Yeah.
He wants us to
Yeah.
Careful, don't. And we want
But maybe you'll like it when it's all done because it'll be like delicious and sweet and cookie-like. What do you think, Noah?
It just says it's very hard.
Can I do it?
It's very hard.
Let me pull it from the bottom. So I want to make sure
hot. The sides.
the sides are hot.
Very hot.
Well, we want to mix it up so that the moisture gets in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, because once you put this in the fridge, it's gonna set up so that the butter and the milk kind of mix up and become a glue.
And my question before we go back to talking about your grandma's house, do we want it to be kind of in between, like wet sand texture?
Yeah, I want to try to get most of the lumps out.
Okay.
Should have done this in the beginning, which is like something I remember, like I kind of forgot to do, and
Okay.
No,
the other one.
I'm just excited to be doing this together because you're actually the first person that I'm making a sweet thing with. Everyone else has picked like a savory, and when you said that you're more of a baker than a cook, I was like, that's perfect because as you know, I love to bake.
yeah,
And I like that this is like a no bake, so we don't have to wait too long for the results.
I wonder if you skip it and put it in the freezer directly after you mold it, if it would even set up faster. Probably.
Ooh,
that's like the law of
probably, right?
thermodynamics or something.
Yeah. I think that's too smart for me, but I totally, I believe that it would, right? Like when you put cookie dough in the freezer, it definitely firms up harder.
So
And like lets that butter flour melt and settle in there.
you get to the point where like it's wet sand and you don't really want any spots that are dry because that will definitely be bad news. And something I forgot to do before we did this was like sift the flour because it helps, because sometimes there's like lumps of flour before we start toasting it. I totally forgot. I remember that I should have put it in my notes because it was something that I remember to do the first time I did it. It's been so long.
That's okay. I believe in this. I believe in this batch. I think this is a magical batch that we're making together. So no lumps anyway. All the ratios were proper. They're selected correctly. We're not worried about any of that at all. I'm just trying to
what it tastes like.
How does it taste? I'm
Just
gonna taste
keep
mine.
on eating
That's a good idea, Isa.
Tastes good.
I can hear it crunching in your mouth.
I can confirm that mine too does taste good. And it has ube flavors going through it. So I'm excited.
You used an ube essence, or did you add ube powder?
So I did both, right? So I added like an eighth of a cup of ube, like powdered ube, so like the dehydrated. And then McCormick, shouts. I use the like ube essence from McCormick because I find that it's like the most ube flavored, like potent ube flavor, but not like synthetic tasting, I think. There's like another one that's like people like to use, and I'm like, that one tastes a little bit too fake for me, I think.
There's when you go to the Filipino store, there is the whole aisle of all these little bottles, and you can get like pandan and everything. And it's so when you're looking through, I always think, which one which one is the one with the most, like you said, the best flavor? Like I feel like I actually like don't know if my grandmother would make anything like this, but also my grandmother would probably, like my mom said, just order it out. So all those secrets.
There's always like somebody. Yeah, there's always somebody in like the village or like the town or whatever who's like, that's their specialty. We get it from them, or like the region or whatever. But also like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about your family. I know that like in my family, it's like, is it convenient? Was it easier to just buy it than to make it ourselves? And also, could we afford it? So I think that that's like what my mom's family has thought about when they're like, we're just gonna buy it. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, it's like someone, I think it's like the philosophy of like, someone knows how to do this well. Why should I do this work?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna, it's so warm. You feel it, Isa?
Can I feel it? Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, I think mine's warm, but not like too
not
warm.
Too hot?
Yeah, not too hot.
And then I'm gonna show, I have like a little container to put the molded pieces in once we get going.
I feel all the crunchy bits.
They really, Isa's like the pinipig tastes really, really good.
That's the best part of pinipig flavored anything. Maybe I'll use my flour mold for these. Because then I'll have a thing.
So now we push out. Oh.
Yeah. So
fell out.
We want to pack it in really well. Can I show you first?
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to pack it in and then push on it. So push on it to make sure.
Okay.
And I feel like we're.
I want to see if it.
Okay, we want to.
Oh, it didn't.
And then.
Did it work?
Yes, it did.
I want you have to feel really.
Whoa.
And then what we're gonna do, Noah, is we're going to go to this plate. And we're gonna put it down here, and then push, squeeze it out, and shake it, and then it comes out like that. Okay. So it should.
Whoa.
Okay, now squeeze.
Can I do this?
No, can I help you? So this is like a little trigger.
Right? Oh, I want to do it.
Okay. There you go. Shake it a little bit. Shake it a little. No, keep close to the bottom.
Whoa.
Okay. We can do it again. You have to pack it really well, Noah. Okay, hold on.
Sorry.
Nope, it's fine.
Hey guys,
Let's try again.
Ow, biscuits. Ow. Okay, I just pinched my own finger. Okay, let's do. Okay, we want to pack it.
I have my first one. I have my first one.
Beautiful.
I'm using the flour mold. I'm using like my spatula to kind of help me pack it and keep it flat.
She has ube in it. So like what
ube?
Ube is a purple root.
Can I try that? Can I do it now?
Okay, so make sure it's packed really well, Noah.
Thank you for asking what ube is. I think we were talking about it and we didn't explain. Yeah, it is. It is like a purple yam that comes from the Philippines, and it almost has like vanilla flavor, almost vanilla-y, and it's sweet, and you can make it even sweeter in like desserts like this, or you eat it with like ice cream. Ube ice cream.
Ube ice cream. Sometimes they get boba now. Okay. So yeah, I think it's one of the quintessential flavors, right? Like people know
I think so.
food and they go, oh yeah, it's that purple stuff.
Yeah. I think it's funny because like, I don't know. I mean, when we were kids, I don't think it was a flavor that anybody like really, really knew outside of like Filipino or even Asian communities.
Yeah.
And like even like, oh crap, I lost mine. Even as like a teenager, I don't think it was like a big flavor, but then like, I don't know, in the last 10 years, it's definitely like popped up and people are like, I definitely know about ube waffles at brunch or like ube milkshakes and things like that.
Yeah, that, and then I remember watching, I think it was Steven Universe.
Yeah, Steven Universe.
Yes!
Guys,
Lars!
Yes.
That makes friends.
Yes, he makes the ube cake roll.
Yes.
And I was so excited by that because I was like, who knew Lars was Filipino?
Right?
Nobody knew Lars was Filipino until that episode, and it was so great.
I know.
But I think the actor who voices Lars is also Filipino.
Oh, is he?
No,
Yeah, I think so. So I think that's like really cool that like, you know, like Filipinos are out there getting recognized for more than just being Imelda Marcos's stomping grounds.
Yeah.
Now you.
I think about it. I think it's so interesting that it's so exciting when you find something like that, and oh, you really need to pack it in. You really need to
get it really tight.
Tight, yeah, like a lot, and
like,
make sure, like push it as much as.
Like, have you ever built a sand castle?
Yeah, more.
Because we kept on failing.
It's kind of like when you build a sand castle. You kind of like really get in there.
I feel like
you ruined it.
I did not ruin it. Honestly, I think maybe we need a little more butter because it keeps falling apart, or it might be the children. So let me do a little more butter. Well,
Hey, you ruined mine. Whatever. You whatever. Ever pants.
So do you all watch Steven Universe? Can we talk about Steven Universe while your Ninang Ardith is heating up some more butter? Which character is your favorite on Steven Universe?
I like Lapis.
Lapis, okay.
I like Steven, Garnet, Amethyst, Pole, and my most favorite, Spinel.
Spinel's your favorite?
Yeah.
Oh wow. I just watched the movie the other day. I waited so long to watch the movie.
Spinel.
You named what after Spinel?
Oh, his gecko.
Oh, your gecko. That's cool. That's really cool. I think my favorite characters are Garnet and Amethyst. And I really like Steven's hot dog bag. Do you remember his like burger backpack and his hot dog bag?
Oh yeah.
From like early season? Burger backpack. I love burger backpack. And Lion. Of course, Lion. Like, who doesn't love Lion? Lion's definitely up there in my faves.
Not me. I don't like Lion.
You don't like Lion?
But I do like
Lion.
Okay, sorry you guys. Can we do this one more time. I'm gonna put some more butter in it because it's falling apart and I need.
Yep, it's definitely the butter.
It's definitely something. I don't know.
It's not us. It's the
It's
butter.
not you. Because it's not you. Okay, hold on. No.
Yeah, because you're pros.
It's not our
Can we put it back?
or anything. Yeah, I put one away.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I'm gonna pick it up and it falls apart. Okay, it fell apart.
No,
So what-
I pick it up and it falls apart. Okay.
That one does not fall apart because I really packed it in there.
Can I eat it?
You can eat it if you want to. Oh, geez.
Can I eat it? Can I eat one?
Oh my god, it falls apart.
Yeah, because
Eat it.
it's supposed to set for 30 minutes in the fridge.
Jeez, I
So,
want to eat one. I want to eat one.
so I put it like,
I think I might actually need a little bit more butter too.
yeah, I think,
Well, at least I got to save the flavor.
yeah.
I'm gonna add a little bit more melted butter
Yeah.
to my guys.
Go to me. I can do
Because
it.
they're holding up, but the edges keep kind of sticking a little bit. So why not? Why not try it a little bit?
A little more butter, yeah. It's like, it's adjustable.
Yeah.
Okay, see this one
Where's
doesn't fall
Daddy?
apart. Where is your daddy? Okay,
Daddy,
okay, I'm gonna sit down over here. Excuse me.
can I go back to the couch?
Go ahead, where's your crutches? Here.
I put them.
Bye, Noah. Thanks for joining us today. I had a lot of fun making polvoron with you.
Never give up on this Polvoron thing.
Here you go.
Ouch.
I hope that your leg feels better and that you get your cast off soon.
I already got the cast on.
He has a walking cast right now.
Oh, you have a walking cast. Okay, well, that's great. You'll be running in no time.
It's very secure. And I can eat it brief for 5 minutes. That's what mom and dad say.
Okay, Noah, thank you for
Oh,
your
that's
My
exciting.
dad right over there.
Thanks for your help today.
Come on.
She hates Star Wars too.
She likes Star Wars.
I do like Star Wars. Do you like Star Wars?
He
No, my
does.
dad likes Star Wars. I get it Star Wars.
Your dad likes Star Wars. That's cool.
Okay.
My dad also likes Star Wars.
Yes!
You did see the butter
Finally.
out. The
I
butter-
told you it's not me.
It-
It's
a
the
little bit.
it's hard.
You need to push
Oh.
hard. You need to pack it in really hard. Did you hear that?
Artist, did you grow up doing like cooking and things like that with your siblings and your older relatives, or like the way that you and Issa are right now
I
together?
think my parents and most of my aunts and uncles
Yeah,
really
this is definitely-
broke worked during the day, like much of like the adults. And I grew up in the 80s where, you know, it was not as
pretty.
no, I would say diligent with the child rearing. But so my grandmother took care of us, and
Uh-huh.
she makes stuff. But she didn't
Yeah.
really like have us really help. I think it's too chaotic with like half a dozen kids or a dozen kids at a time, like in her
Yeah.
house. So 2 dozen.
Yeah.
So but I remember her making things like what's it called? Oh, not Polvoron. She used to make
Kind of good.
what is that called? The rice thing that's wrapped. It's like like a Filipino tamale.
Like
Oh,
bibingka?
no, not bibingka.
Oh, suman.
Suman. Yes.
Suman.
Yeah.
Suman.
So she would make suman.
Yeah,
And,
it's like sticky rice and like banana leaf.
yes.
Yes,
And,
yes.
and what's really sad is like no one knows the recipe. So we're like, what did she used to do? She made really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
and she's not around anymore. Eh?
No, and she had like Alzheimer's, and this was like the 80s, so it was like really
Mm,
people were just finding out about Alzheimer's.
Finally.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a hard time where like
Mhm.
yes, I wish like foresight, the 80s, yes, the 80s, foresight. If I had been foresight, like we would have like recorded stuff, and I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
my relatives, like my cousins who are my age, one of them has been thinking about that stuff too, and she's like, we need to have like a recording project where we talk to all the
Yeah.
uncles and say like, hey, what's the story? What do you want to like remember? And
Mhm.
have a record. But
Yeah.
my mom tells a story about one of her uncles had a snake twin.
What? It's just a story.
She believes it. You know what a snake twin is?
A twin that has a other twin that's a snake.
Yes, a twin with a snake. And she said when that uncle passed away, the snake twin came back to say goodbye.
Oh wow.
the twin
That's pretty special.
snake
Yeah.
came back to say goodbye
To say goodbye to him when he passed away.
Well,
That's so special.
And then, yes, and then I was talking to my friend about it. She actually she's a PhD in research. She's like a data scientist. And then she said, "Oh, I'm gonna go check out." I think it was like LexisNexis or some sort of article. She said she found out there was some folklore research about it. So I thought it was really interesting that
That's awesome.
It wasn't just a story. There was like a folklore about snake twins. So
yeah.
That's
like, amazing. Yeah, I totally believe in like all the like. I know people are like, oh, it's so silly, blah blah blah. It's like backward, whatever. It's like, oh no, I totally believe in all the folklore that that we grew up with about things like that. About like, I don't know. My mom used to joke about how like the Chanak will come and like replace us in the crib. If we're not good, the Chanak will come. And it's like, oh, watch out for that Chanak. And it's like, yeah, for sure. I say to my dog is like, he's slowly like, he's got cataracts and he's like slowly losing vision. And we're always like, oh, Gene, he can't, his name is Gene, like Eugene, not like blue jeans. And we can't walk him during the daytime. And it's because when he's outside, he does this thing where he like sees the sunlight and he like gallops a little bit. And it's like, oh, Gene saw a mumu. That's what's happening. And like now my husband is like, oh, Gene's seeing mumus again.
Like the kids here are always seeing them. Yeah. It's a word that my brother-in-law also picked up. Like Momo, Baho.
Yeah. But that's your story about your grandma's recipe and like dementia, that just reminds me, like I was actually trying to reach up for it. I have this tiny little handwritten, like basically scraps of paper folded together book that my grandma had, and she would write all of her little recipes in it. And when she passed away, and it's like burnt up and like stained and everything.
Yeah.
And when she passed away, my mom was like, hey, I thought about you and I thought maybe you would want this when we found it in all her things. And it's like your Mama Orange recipes. And I was like, oh my God, like that's like the sweetest thing that could ever have been given to me. Because, they're like, oh, we know you're like the cook and baker in the family. So, I mean, all of the Elag women are really good at cooking. Not all of them bake, but they were like, definitely this is like, you'll get lots of recipes out of this one. So I have it. I haven't made anything from it because I'm a little like nervous to try. But I do like just seeing her handwriting and like having access to her recipes.
Yeah, I think it's such a wonderful connection to have. And I really like wish, I don't know, I feel like if I'd been a little bit older, like we could have like, I don't know. It's also the 80s, maybe I wouldn't have asked. So,
yeah.
But it would have been nice to be able to look back. And my mom now, what we try to do is when she tries to cook, Lisa, it's very no. Oh, it's broken here too. And what we try to do is go ahead and record her sometimes. No, not more butter. You have to pack it down harder. And also it's like tiring. And I think one of the things that my mom was saying about like getting someone to cook for you is that they have like equipment to do the job in a much bigger fashion, and it in a much Isa, in a much she's just piling it up. It totally broke apart for her. In a much bigger fashion. Hey, careful, please. And like it's hard on the body when you're cooking something like a big giant bowl, like a big pot of pancetta. It's trying to get down underneath and flip that over. That's like a like upper body strength.
Yeah, for sure. That is huge. Yeah, I think like it's funny. So like going out for Filipino restaurant food, right? Like it's something that my family used to do a lot before pandemic. We would like meet up, I think like weekly, and we just go out for lunch together, and we'd be like this huge table, and it would be lots of fun and laughs and whatnot. Or we'd order it into someone's house, and my husband was like, oh, your family is always like, we make it better, like it tastes better when we make it, right? So why do we keep going? And I'm like, yes, it does taste better when we make it at home, but also like it's just so nice to have somebody cook for you, because it's tiring to work all week and then have to come home and like make these really like very very home dishes, right? But like they just take time, and it's just nice to be able to have the convenience and have access to somebody in the neighborhood who can make it for you, or support a local restaurant where like they're already doing it, and it's really nice. Where we live in Queens, we used to live just blocks away from like the Little Manila of Queens.
Yes.
And it's like where all the Filipinos go to church, and there's so many businesses and lots of Filipinos live. And we used to live in that general area. And it's like, my husband would ask, like, don't you get tired of like coming out to these restaurants? And it's like, no. He's like, but you guys order the same things all the time. And it's like, yep, because who has time to make like lechon? Was that a huge spoonful?
Who has time to make that? She just took a big chunk and put it in her mouth and left. She's like, this is it.
Very sad.
I gotta go. This is falling apart on me.
Yeah, but like nobody has that time to like make like lechon kawale or like chicharon bulaklak, and like
oh
those
God.
are the things that like you crave when it's like, oh, I know it's bad for you. I mean, high blood and like cholesterol and all that, and diabetes, but also it's delicious. And like, why wouldn't I want deep fried goodness from a lovely Filipino restaurant, like soaked in vinegar? Thank you. I want that all the time. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think like, sure, we used to have my mom has 7 altogether. There's 7 siblings in her side of the family, and my father has like 9. So like even if it's a potluck, it's like a huge, like there's like there's like 12 cousins. I mean 24 cousins when you go to grandma's house. There's like tons of people, and to get that amount of food, it's a lot of work. And they get to, now that they're in their 60s and 70s and 80s, they're just like, we're just gonna cater. We're just gonna order. It's like $500 for this many people. We'll order a bunch of food, like maybe a big tray for $50 to $75, and eat that way. But everybody will be happy, and there's leftovers, so they
exactly. Everyone can bring their baon and like make baon for tomorrow for the rest of the week. Yeah. And it's still delicious. And maybe all you had to do was make rice, right? Like maybe. Well, probably. It's probably better for you to make the rice. Yeah.
The rice that you like, my mom has a specific idea of how dry the rice, like how wet or dry the rice is. And she told me she has this like notion about it because her father would get so mad if you didn't make the rice the right way. And I think my mom has a similar feeling about rice. I'm like, if it's a little wet, I'm okay with it, but I was just gonna ask, are you a wet or a dry rice fan? Like, what is your? My mom likes it like right where it's like not wet. Okay. But not super dry, just she wants it perfect, and her idea of perfection is very it's like cooked all the way but not too moist, and if it's too moist she's like, this is no good. My dad would like hit you. I was like, no, it's not. Oh my gosh. Yeah. she also told me after her parents came to the US, her father kind of changed. He wasn't as I guess corporal punishment was not something he did anymore once he got to the US for the grandkids. Like I definitely don't remember him. They all fell apart. Definitely don't remember him being mad about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do these again, guys. We're gonna do it. They tried really hard.
They tried, and that's what's important, right? Like, trying.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I think it was interesting, just like my mom saying that it's once you came here, they came from the Philippines and they had like a duck farm, they had all this stuff, but they came here for a better future. And like it's interesting how much to assimilate and how they had to work together to combine their resources to get to a certain point, and how maybe his strictness really changed. What I remember about him is just like he loved country music. So I know a lot of 70s and 80s country, because he played it so much. And that was like his, like to me, and like I was a child when this happened. I don't know if this was like, his thoughts or anything about it, but I felt like that was his way of being American, is just like, I'm gonna listen to country music. We're gonna, get on down here. All the kids will know the lyrics to Islands in the Stream. And we did.
Yeah. I get that. Did you grow up speaking Tagalog as a kid?
My grandmother really was spoke Tagalog mostly, but there is a term for it and I forgot. I like learned it recently, where you're fluent understanding, like orally, but you can't really talk back.
Yes.
It was something I read. I don't know, did I read it on Slack? I read it somewhere and I'm like, yes, that's definitely how I process Tagalog. And so whenever I go out or my mom tells me something, I understand it. I understand what she's saying, but I am not comfortable speaking back unless it's like small phrases. This is my mom.
Hi.
My friend Krystle.
Hi, Tita.
How are you?
Hello. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Well, I'm okay.
Are you gonna make polvoron with us today too?
Oh no.
I think you should take these today, though. It's a lot of Polvoron.
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you, Pa. Take care. Yeah, I am exactly the same way. My Tagalog is terrible in terms of like grammar, but I think I understand really well. And I've taken Tagalog classes several times in my life, and I like to think I'm pretty good with language.
Yeah.
But I think that it's just a thing that's difficult for me to comprehend how to do word order, even though when I was a child, like I have heard recordings of myself speaking fluent Tagalog, and like my family, I also grew up with like all my cousins in the same house and like next door, and we all always were together. And I remember speaking Tagalog fluently and speaking Spanish fluently and speaking English fluently as like a little toddler. Yeah. And then I'm told like, oh, you went to preschool, and they were like, hey, guess what? She has to speak English. So get her to speak only English, because then we have to put her in like ESL, and that's not something we want to do. She's really smart, but
for the pleasure now to have like immersive.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. But meanwhile, immigrant kids get it for free.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I will look up that term, because I very strongly identify with it.
Yeah. I was telling one of my friends in college, that I can watch like a teleserie or like a movie and what's going on. I couldn't, for the life of me, I can't cuss in Tagalog because like I didn't have any exposure. My grandparents never, like a couple were like the one word, right? You can, I know that one
yeah.
or hayop, but not like I don't know much cursing because my grandmother and my grandparents like didn't really say any of those things.
Oh wow, that's funny.
Yeah, and we're like, I don't know medical terms. I was like, there are things that are just big blank spots. But conversational, if I want to listen to the gossip, chismes, I'm like, what's going on?
Of course, I know what's happening here. Yeah, I get that. I like to tell my mom, like, I understood that all Tagalog text message, Mom. I could read it without Google Translate.
I did it. So like when I was
younger,
what it is. I would read Tagalog text to myself to hear it. So I can translate it in my head because I couldn't sit there and read it right. I really have to hear it. So my grandmother had like a bunch of on my father's side had a bunch of romance novels in Tagalog, like old kind of like Filipino steps. And I just couldn't read them. I was just like, what is going on here? Because of course, like I don't know a lot of like there's a terminology like the vocabulary was out of my league. There was no Google Translate. So I think I gave them to my cousins. I don't remember. I didn't keep them, but it made me laugh so hard because I do love a romance novel. And I do love
a romance novel, right?
Yeah. But I couldn't understand it, so I was like, I don't think this is something I'm gonna learn.
It's like when I was in the Philippines, in a few years back. The last time I was there, I was on an immersive excursion.
Yes.
In Kalinga, like way north, and the kids there would like laugh because they're like, "Oh, your Tagalog is terrible," and it's like, yeah, but I can only speak to little kids, so either we're speaking Tagalog or we're not speaking at all. Because it's like it's just the way it is, right? So it's like, okay, so sorry, my Tagalog is garbage, but you know, I be trying. You tried, right? You tried.
I tried, and then I also told my cousins, well, the Philippines is like the 4th largest English speaking nation. Aren't we okay? Like, can't we just do it this way? You're fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
What's the big? I mean, what do you get out of like a history of being like a U.S. territory for so long, other than you can speak English for a very long time? Like it's part of your
speak English and you get like McDonald's, right? Like those are the key factors of being like colonized by the Americans, occupied continuously by the Americans, right? Like you gotta get like McDo and English. What else are you gonna get?
I mean,
there's also like other elements of like colorism and whatnot that prevails today, right? But I think for the most part,
I think I think that especially the colorism, like in my family, I'm like the palest one out of like 4 kids, and my oldest, my brother who's younger than me is very, very dark, and like we could kind of like even like every other one is like a little lighter, and there's always, you know, when we went to the Philippines, I got a lot of, oh, you could be an actress, you're so pale.
Yeah.
You're so pale, you don't have to do that crazy like medicine to make you super pale. I'm like,
right. I got very similar responses about being an actress, like, oh, we could totally make you artista because I was half. And like there's nothing more that the Philippines love than a half Filipino or quarter Filipino, 1/8 Filipino actor or actress that, you know, is like, oh, we can kind of see it, but not really. Like they won't give the job to like regular Filipinos that are dark skinned, but they'll give it to like, you know, your latest or possibly darkest half Filipino.
Yeah,
it's wild. You know, it's wild.
And I always find it like really amusing. I mean, it's like the representation thing where you're like, oh, was it Haley Steinfeld that she was in she's like part black and part Filipino, and I was just like, how
Yep.
Congratulations.
Yep.
But it's they want something, or everybody wants a little something, and
everybody wants to like be reflected in whatever way that they can, right? Like definitely. Like I totally remember, and this is probably like not great, like, but when Gianni Versace was murdered by Andrew Cunanan, the one thing that like people were like, oh Sion, oh it's so sad, so sad, but also did you see he was Filipino? Also, he was kind of like a cute Filipino, no? Like I totally remember that growing up, and it's like not the point, friends, not the point. Like,
and then
we're claiming anyone.
Gary Kids played him on TV, and they were like, "Oh, he won an award for being the murderer." I was like, "Yeah,
yep, exactly." Like, oh, he's Filipino playing Filipino. Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, exactly. I say this as I just saw. Oh man, I just saw recently that there's a new Hallmark movie that has come out. Have you heard of this movie?
No, what?
There's like a new Hallmark movie in which the chef is half Filipino, and it's like a romance about like cooking and honoring his Lola's recipes, his grandma's recipes, right? And he's like trying to, he's like a sous chef, but he wants to be like a real chef. And I don't know, I guess the girl is like caught between him and a white guy, being like, what's the, do I want this racially ambiguous Filipino god here, who's like played by like a half Filipino, who's also like racially ambiguous, like oh okay, we got a half see, okay, cool.
Yeah,
I saw it recently, and I was like, I saw it on someone's feed on the internet, and I was like, oh okay, and then I saw clips of it, and I was like, okay, whatever.
I found another container, so I'm gonna do couple more.
Yes, do it.
I was talking with one of my friends about growing up here, because we live in Rancho Penasquitos in San Diego, and predominantly there's like a lot of military here, and a lot of military Filipino people who are like in the Navy and the Marines, and this neighborhood, there was a lot of Filipino people we grew up with, and we were talking about how we didn't really feel the racism growing up here because we were surrounded by other Filipinos, but then when you go other places, it was really interesting just how the world is when you're outside of this small bubble, which it was definitely a privilege to grow up over here, but it didn't really prepare you for the outside world where you're like, oh
yep,
so you're resentful because what?
yeah
Yes, I speak.
Yeah, I get that. Growing up, it was, I mean, I grew up in a pretty diverse community, a pretty diverse suburb, where there were like definitely other Filipinos, lots of Black folks, lots of white kids, and I think that colored my idea of what like communities look like, because when I moved from that, it was like, oh, I didn't know that that's what people treat you like, or I didn't realize, and like whatever like internalized racist feelings would come up from like family, right? Like that, like, speaking about colorism, like, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and like when you're mixed back then, it wasn't as common as it is today.
Yeah.
And there was definitely like some feelings even in like older generational thing, not like close fam, just like older titas who have something to say.
Yeah.
or people like you never see other than like at Christmas when you're like trying to live your best life.
This is
But I think those attitudes, and it's weird how those attitudes have changed because like when we started, I mentioned that like I used to bake and whatnot with my nieces and nephews, and like they're half Black, they're Peruvian, you know, and it's like it was very interesting watching them grow up. And like my other cousins, they have white husbands and, you know, Portuguese husbands, you know, and it's like, it's so different than when we were kids, because when we were kids, it's like my brother and I were the only like Black kids in the family. And now it's like everyone has a husband who's like, not Filipino. And it's like, we all have little mixed race Filipino kids.
Is it like I feel like it's like a product of like growing up in the US and the diverse places where you're growing up now, and just like wearing down your parents. It's not how Americans, we grew up in America and this is different. And you know, in the Philippines, it's a monoculture other than, you know, the colonialism and the imperialism from the US and other countries. It's really, you just see other Filipino people. It's different when you're here. You
might see like Chinese Filipino people, but like still Filipinos, right? Still Filipino.
Still Filipinos. And it's so you know, it's interesting how that highly like super Catholic conservatism has like really, I think, changed, at least in my family, over time, where you're just like, whatever.
Exactly.
You're fine. Are you happy? Does he or she make you happy?
Do they make you happy? And are you going to be okay? And like that's, I think, the concern.
Yeah, because I think there's like a lack of trust. Like, the outside, that whole outsider mentality of like, you know, they're the other, everyone else is other, and how do you know to trust them? But then there's also like, don't trust the Filipinos. Like,
oh my gosh, yes. I was talking about this the other day, where like growing up, my mom was not like, oh, you should totally have a Filipino partner. My mother was like, don't trust Filipinos. They are cheaters, they are liars, they're lazy and drunk, and they will not be good to you. And turns out, you know, some Filipino men fit that mold.
Yeah, listen.
Some, not all, some.
It's not right, but also that whole mentality, there's a multitude of men who fall into that, not just Filipinos.
Right. And like the question is like, at what point are we perpetuating stereotypes of our people, or and how much of that is like, is it like real? Is it true? Or is it that we're just perpetuating stereotypes and therefore feeding into that like mentality, and then like continuing to move that narrative, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's also like at a certain, it's like machismo that they grew up with. And I think about like my grandfather and like my father, and that like post World War II, the trauma that they went through, and then how they had to adjust, like, oh, I'm a man, I do this X, Y, and Z. You know, and it's not like even like reserved just for Filipino, like even like other Asian men, like the Confucianism of it all, where you're just like, I have to be a man about this. There's like certain things that I have to do on this side that is none of your business, and it don't worry.
Exactly.
I hope
don't question the thinking behind this, because it's just the way that it is.
The way it is. You're just like, oh, is it?
Exactly.
I'd rather be single. This is what I learned. I just like I'm much more self-sufficient, and the self-sufficientness, you know, how much of it is based on the trauma of like, it's the 80s and all this happened.
Absolutely. I have no room in my fridge for this
freezer. Put it in the freezer.
I'm gonna put it in the freezer. You're right. Let's rearrange some things. My freezer is like a wellspring of lots of things, but we'll make room. Let's move this out. There we go. It's space. There we go.
Yeah.
I'll just pop the frozen bread on top of the freezer for now. But yeah, I totally agree. It is definitely like a machismo thing where like
it doesn't make you a good partner if you're gonna act like that. I think about that a lot where you're just like
absolutely.
You're not sharing.
But like, are you a partner? That's the real question, right? Like, can we be partners?
Chattel.
Yes, partners or chattel. Those are your options, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I would much prefer to be a partner.
Yeah.
I think that like the same thing with like that old school thinking that if you weren't going to marry a Filipino, you should marry a white person because it's upward mobility, right? Like it's instant upward mobility. We're thinning the color lines, right? Yeah. So like it's something that I thought about when because like my partner's white, right? Like it's something I thought about when I was getting with my partner. I was like, would people think this thing? And then I was like, you know, I feel like we're so far removed. Yeah. I feel like we're so far removed from that. I feel like we're so far removed from that that line of thinking, but who knows? You know, like there's definitely still people like you'll meet who are just like, oh, it's nice that I remember standing in line to see a few years ago to see like a Filipino movie that was part of like Asian American Film Festival. And in the line, there were like these two titas behind us, and we were chatting, and they were like, "Oh, you are Filipino? Oh, that's interesting, huh?" And then they like start talking, and they're like, "Oh, this is your husband. Oh, you're very lucky. He's very handsome." And I was like, "Is he handsome or is he white?" I mean, both are true, right? He's a handsome man, but he's also a white person. And so then the question was, you're lucky because your husband's handsome, or am I lucky because my husband's white? I wonder, Zita, where are we going?
What do you think is lucky about the situation? No.
Right, exactly. What's lucky about the situation? Is it, I mean.
And you're not going to make them examine this. It's in the line.
No, of course not. I'm like, we're just here to see Jericho Rosales. That's all we're trying to do, right? Like, I just wanted to see Angel Locsin. Like, that's all I'm here to do, Zita. It was great talking to you. Enjoy the movie.
It's like a lot to, you know, when like the fact that in the Philippines there are people from like the Marcos family still getting elected, and you're just like, what? Why? Why
are you a senator?
Why is Manny Pacquiao a senator? Why? Why don't you?
Like, I know we had Donald and I know we had Arnold, and like Jesse Ventura, but it's also like, no, but y'all been doing this for years. Like Eric Estrada was an actor. He's like their Ronald Reagan, and yeah. I mean, I think my family definitely supported him.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's like, but why? What is his qualification? I don't know.
If he was famous, I mean, I think
so.
It's hard. Part of you know, part of the U.S. policy is like bringing people over who provided services or had a certain amount of education, and then like one of the things that I think about, like I remember in high school going back there and then realizing, hey, a lot of people who left were people who were like in the military or people who were in like who are professional like nurses or accountants or engineers, and they all left to go to the US and try to get jobs there, and people don't come back. I mean, and you know, I think about like there's like a lot of other countries like China, for example, who send people to college here and then they go back and
go back
and
yeah.
And then
it's not the case with the Philippines at all.
No, and then I thought to myself,
and it's not necessarily that they don't want to go back, right? Like it's not necessarily that they don't want to go back, but it's the idea that like, what opportunities do you have if you do go back?
And
Like I was talking to my mom about retiring the other day, and she's like, I want so badly to retire to the Philippines, but I just think about how, one, like the healthcare isn't the same.
Yeah.
Right. Like, which you can see right now during pandemic, and like how surging rates of infection and death around COVID. And like, I'm sure your family's been affected. I know my family has devastatingly been affected. And so my mom is just like, it just doesn't make sense to retire there if like there's nothing other than the fact that your dollar will stretch, other than the fact that you're, you know, close to your family home and whatnot, but like there's no job opportunities for people. And that's why, like, you know, the number one export of the Philippines is no longer coconut or mango, it's people, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
and like nurses, I remember one of the memes I saw was about Grey's Anatomy, and you're like, how many Filipino nurses were Grey's Anatomy? Really, there should be a lot more.
There should be so many more. Like, why are, like, all of your background nurses should just be Filipino.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know a single hospital that any member of my family has ever been to where there wasn't one Filipino involved.
Yeah. It's like a career. Like, I also thought about like, oh, maybe I should between different careers, I was like, maybe I should go back and get a master's in nursing and then be a nurse.
Yeah.
But you know, I never thought, oh, I should go back to the Philippines. I should do any of this stuff. Even when thinking that philosophically as a child, like a teenager, hey, people don't come back here. This is like a brain drain. Like, I remember saying, it's weird. It's a brain drain, guys. Why are we not coming back? And just not like, part of it is like my parents, they grew up there, and it was like post World War II was very traumatic, and it's not something, even though they maybe want to retire there, it's not like the greatest memories of everything. It was a hard time. And like, do you want your kids to go back and experience that, or like the amount of poverty with relatives, like close relatives, when you're just like, they're so poor, but you can't give them all your money, and what do you do? Like, how do you do this? And I think one of the things my dad tried to do was like send as many kids to college. Like he tried to get his nephews to go to school, and that has helped. Like, they have like nurses in their families, and like business owners who stayed there. They stayed there. That doesn't mean that they're not like on a list that they want to like emigrate eventually, but that now it's 20 years, right, or 40 years to get over here. So it's definitely. I think I like, when I was there, I realized it was so sad, and like we also like made a stop somewhere, like, oh, our tire blew up, we had to get a new tire, and there was this like young girl, and I was like, she's wearing way too much makeup, and then I realized that she was like a child prostitute. Like, oh my god. It was very hard, like that reality. And you don't want to go back. Like, you don't want to sit there and go like, I don't want to experience that again. And yet, like, maybe I should experience that and go like, what should
I mean, I think like part of it is that growing up Filipino American, like, you have this nostalgia for a place that like isn't yours, right? Like, or even if you're like the half generation, right? Like the generation that like came as an older child. You emigrated over as an older child and not like a baby, right? Even then, like, you have a nostalgia for a place that like no longer belongs to you, even though you so desperately want to be a part of that and like to connect with that. And then when you go, it becomes more reality and less of this picturesque ideal in your mind, and you're confronted by so many different feelings where it's like, yes, it is a beautiful place to be, everyone is friendly, there's so much that that really is wonderful about it. And there's also like the ugly other half of that where it's like, it's really poor and like plumbing isn't a great thing in places. You know, you are constantly confronted by someone asking for money, in the same vein as like trying not to get robbed on the street.
Corruption with the like, police there.
Corruption between police and government officials, and all the other and extrajudicial killings, you know, like all of these things are like part of the juxtaposition that is the Philippines, and it's so hard to explain what that feels like if you didn't grow up with that feeling or that emotion, right? So
and I think that's like some of the things like when you realize all that and you're like, okay, it is like, it kind of shakes you, like you don't think of it, you think of it like you're used to a certain memory, and even going back as a child, like you're like, okay, I can go walk down the street, go to the sorry store, and like by myself just go, don't speak, don't say anything, you might get kidnapped. Like, wait, what? What?
Exactly. I heard a different accent.
You get kidnapped, they're gonna ransom you. Like, what? Wait. And that's that's like something that you're just like, it's not it. I think about the freedom my mom and her kids, like the kids there growing up had, but also just the craziness of that, like growing up, and then coming here, them trying to scrounge, like build their lives and get to a certain place. My mom was like, when I was in college and I said, I'm going to quit biochemistry. I'm going to quit biochemistry. I'm going to take Japanese. I'm going to graduate.
And your mom lost her shit, I bet.
She was like, what are you doing? I'm
glad, because like when I did it, I mean, my parents already knew. They were like, she doesn't know how to do any of, like, I had dreams as a child of being a scientist. And then I grew up and I was like, I can't add. I'm sorry. I don't know how to do geometry. Like basic geometry is not my strength. So we're just going to lean heavy into the arts. And I definitely had aunts and uncles who were just like, you know, it's real cute that you're trying to be an activist, but maybe you should try nursing. And I was just like, I will kill patients. Like, I will kill patients because I don't know the difference between 10 cc's and 1,000 cc's. And I'm going to fuck it up. So I'm glad your kids thrive in those fields. That's not for me. And that's why, you know, like I'm in social work. It's similar. It's a helping cause. You know, exactly.
I mean, my mom had a lot of patience over the years, and I feel like she like there was like a certain amount of like reward, but she's like, they were like really rooting for me to be a scientist. And I love science. I just like, I got to calculus and I did not like calculus. And then I was just like, I like language better. I like to learn about language. I like to learn about history. I like to think about stuff. And then turns out like now, like all these years later, I am working in kind of a science. I work in research. And it comes full circle. But like the thing that I explained to my mom, like graduating was like, you know, this doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I'm graduating, and this is like in 2000. I'm graduating from UCLA. It doesn't. They'll interview me.
Exactly.
I just have to graduate.
I'll be fine, Mom. Yeah, exactly. I'll be fine. Yeah.
Just let me get this degree out of the way. So it's the key that our parents didn't understand. Like, you had to get into college. Now you're going to be a scientist. I'm like, no, but I just got into UCLA. Do you know what UCLA? I didn't know what UCLA was till I got here. I thought I was just going to come here for science, but people really think this is super famous. I didn't even know we had a football team. I was like in the pre freshman year summer school. Like, I was so nerdy. I went to freshman year summer school.
I took 3 college level classes in addition to AP classes in high school. And I aced all 3 of them, and none of my credits applied to college. And I was like, I just went to school for free. I spent time in the summer going to school for free. Why did I do
Yeah. And then like, well, I did, like, the class I took was at UCLA. It was like just a double science course, like a math course during the summer. And I was walking with my friend from the dorms, and I was like, did we have a football team here? And then the football team came running by, and I was like, oh, I didn't know. I really came just for the science.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I love it. Ardith, it has been so good talking with you, and I know that it's early there, and I don't use so much. I know you got a lot on your plate. So I just want to say thank you for this chat.
This was
for teaching me Polvoron. It was so good.
Let me know how it turns out. I'm gonna put one set in the freezer right now too.
I'm gonna pull mine out of the freezer so I can see what they look like. And
they look beautiful. Those are so cute. Did they set up?
Oh, and they're pretty firm.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited. And they're not stuck to the plate, which is what I was actually worried about.
No, that butter will slide right off.
Right, exactly. Before you go, can we take a selfie for the gram? Because this is the internet age after all.
Yes, we live in the future.
We do live in the future. So let's get in there.
Should I be on this side? Which side is better?
Which side is your good side?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. I think it's like
is it like this side? Is it this side?
Hold on.
Okay. Are we ready?
Can I do it? We did it.
Oh my god. Okay, let's do one more. Perfect. I love it. Thank you so much, Ardith.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to see more about this. So
yes.
It's exciting.
Thanks. I'll see you on the internet.
Yes. Bye.
Take care. Bye.